Alright, here we are in our CO2 Dragster file again. We've got our contain set up, we have our offset set up. Now let's go ahead and do a Control 4, or I can come up here on my screen where I've customized this and I can do a Control 4 there. See, it says right projection, that's good. Alright, it's the right orientation of our part. Okay, what we need to do now when it comes to working with CAMWorks is a few house cleaning things you need to always verify. First, let's go up to where it says help. You always need to make sure that in CAMWorks that you have your license information up to date. Now this is going to go out there and load up a palette of a menu actually and shows you what licenses you're licensed for. It'll take a little bit, so let's just be patient here while it goes out there and loads that. Now with CAMWorks, each person or each company or each individual users have their own licenses that they've been licensed for. Some like EDM or turning or 4-axis or 3-axis or 2.5 axis, or you're licensed for all these different modules inside of CAMWorks. Now for the school that I teach at, we're licensed for mostly 2-axis, turning, EDM, and a few others for our application. Now other schools are licensed for more, different companies are licensed for more. So we're going to wait for that to come up and I'll just come back to this. Okay, CAMWorks came back and it opened up the license info. Mine's taking a little bit longer, not sure why, but anyway, it showed up my license information. Like I have 2.5 axis, I have 3-axis mill 1, 3-axis mill 2, turning, rotary milling, mill turn, wire EDM. And what's important is to know that you're licensed for these modules, which shows that we are. And it also comes up and shows that these are always to start at startup. So I'm not going to update my licenses because it's fine. I'm just going to get an X out of that window. So that shows me what licenses I'm licensed for. Now let's go over here. We're on our feature tree right here. Let's come over here and select the CW feature tree tab for CAMWorks. So I'll click on that and I want to come up here and make sure that my mill is set to inches. Now a lot of times if you've been designing in Dragster, it's going to come up and tell you that it's set to millimeters. So if it's set to millimeters, then what you want to do is verify that you're set in your edit document units, that you're set from mmgs to inch/pound/second. That's what we're going to do. So now with that set, I'm going to do a right mouse click. I'm going to edit that definition. It's going to come over here and open up the milling machines that I'm licensed to use. Well, I don't always have all of these, but I'm going to go ahead and select mill inch and select that and make sure that CAMWorks knows that that's the one I want to use. Now it's going to come over here and we need to make sure that we have the correct post processor. You may have 4 or 5 milling machines in your school or your business or wherever. They all will have probably a different post processor depending on the brand, make, and type of that CNC machinery, whether it be a lathe or it should be a 4-axis or 3-axis or whatever we have. So I'm going to click on post processor. Now it doesn't show any post processor. Now that's important. We got to go find that. What a post processor is, it is the language that the G-code is translated to for that specific machine. So for instance, if you have a Denford or a Mazak or a Haas or a Techno or a Shopbot, whatever, each one of those machines has its own unique flavor of how they interpret G-code. So G-code, of course, is the CNC code. So I'm going to go ahead and browse for my mill post files. Here's all of the CTL files. These are the control files that I have to have on my computer. If these are not on your computer, talk to your teacher or your machine operations manager and say, hey, look, I got to have the correct output post so I can control and I can post out to my machine. Well, in my case, I'm using a Techno CNC Patriot mill. So I'm going to check the Techno ISIL, which is actually a German company who writes the software for Techno. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to say open. And so now it's going to come up and say Techno ISIL. Now real important right here, go ahead and select that. Make sure that you select that and each time you click on that. So let's go back to the machine that we're using. We're going to click on that and select that and we're going to say OK. So what I've done here is I've told CAMWorks, hey, I'm using a Techno ISIL. This is the machine we got to write our G-code out to. Let's make sure we've got it and let's do it. So now with that done, here in the CW tab, which is our strategies tab, we create strategies of how we're going to mill out our car. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on the stock manager. Now if you double click on the stock manager, it's going to open up and tell you a whole lot of different kind of things. But for right now, I'm going to exit out of that. I don't care, you know, that I'm using steel or I'm using whatever, because I'm using balsa wood. How many people out there, how many companies use balsa wood for their operations? So in this case, it says material is 1025 low carbon alloy steel. Well, we're using wood, which it doesn't have any of that up here, so we'll just not even worry about it and get out of that. So don't freak out over that. Well, the next thing I need to do is I'm going to click on the mill, machine mill. I'm going to do a right mouse click, and hold on a second here, do a right mouse click on this, and I'm going to key in, actually on Stock Manager, and I'm going to create a new mill part setup. So I'll click on that, and now what I want you to notice, I'm going to rotate the model around. It's looking at the orientation in the back of the block, which is going in the Z-axis. That's not what we want. Now, depending on the type of dragster that you've designed, if it has a completely arced or modified surface, then you can't click on your surface. Now, on this one, I could click on this right here because it's a flat surface. Or what's better practice, I would say, is to come over here and click on your feature manager and go down here and click on your right plane. Now, we still have a problem. If you look right here real closely, look at that arrow in the direction that it's pointing. We want to mill out the left side of our car. This arrow signifies the direction of our tool, our mill, our bit, and where our router or our spindle is going to come down and cut. So we're milling on the wrong side. That's okay. We'll come over here and we'll flip that in the mill part setup here, and we'll turn that around. That's good. That's where we're going to go. Now, most of the time, you want to always set yourself off of the plane you're going to mill perpendicular to. So that way your tool is going to be milling down like on the top of this versus, you know, milling from the x-axis, which no one ever does that. So we're going to go ahead and accept that. So now we've created our mill part setup. Now, this is important. We're going to go and create a strategy. Now, I can individually select all of these surfaces. That's just too much work. I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to right mouse click on this, and I'm going to say MultiSurface Feature. Now it brings up this real interesting menu over here on the left hand side. It's for our multi-surface feature. Now I can go in and I can individually select surfaces like this right here, and it'll pop up. It's just too much work. I'm not going to do that. So instead, I'm going to select all the faces. Now what's important to note is I am not going to mill on the back side of this car. I'm going to start my milling on the left side. So I'm not worried about this over here, even though I selected it. Because when I create my tool path, the tool is going to be oriented to what it can get to, which is the left side of the CO2 block. Making sure, of course, set the car and the fixture correctly. So with that done, I'm going to check that off. All right, when you see pink, pink means that you are ready to go and create an operations plan. When you see black, that means you've already created an operation plan on this text here. Now, I'm going to rename this mill part setup. And I'm just going to come down and rename it to left side. Cut. Enter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right mouse click on this, and I'm going to say generate an operations plan. So it's going to go out there and generate an operations plan. And it brings me over into the CAMWorks operation tree. Now let's look what we've got here. We've got an area clearance, and we've got a pattern and all this stuff here. Well, I'm going to come back and show you what all that means. Also notice here, it talks about tool 52, tool 53. Hey, that's great if you've got a turret that's got 40 some odd tools on it. We don't have that. We got a CNC router machine which doesn't have a tool turret or a tool magazine on it. So we're going to have to change all of this. But we're going to stop right now and come back.